Hi and welcome to this Advanced Altaro Certification Training course. I am Justin, Senior Technical Support Agent from the Altaro Technical Team, and I'll be guiding you through this course. We will be focusing primarily on troubleshooting, where in the first section we'll take a general approach and then focus on deployment, configuration issues, troubleshooting related to backups and restore operations, and also VSS. Kindly note that at the end of this training course, you will be able to take the test in order to obtain the Certificate of Achievement. In starting this first section, we'll have a look at the Altaro error messages, we'll go through the logging that Altaro generates in the different profiles, we will investigate the structure of the Altaro backup repository, and we'll also go into detail about the duplication technology being used in Altaro VM Backup. As we mentioned in previous training courses, error messages can be seen in the email notifications, in the recent operations pane on the dashboard, and also reported in the Altaro Management Console as part of the operation history. Here we see the three sections of the error message, which give a general description, additional information, and also point specifically to any Windows errors which might have happened and caused the operation to fail. In order to troubleshoot these problems, it's important to bear in mind that for each and every separate component, Altaro has a separate profile, which can be found in the Program Data Altaro directory. Depending on the nature of the failure, you will be of course referring to the specific profile required. The Altaro Backup profile contains all the information and logging required related to the Altaro Virtual Machine Backup application. The Altaro Offsite Server profile will keep all the information and logging related to the Altaro Offsite Server itself, and the Altaro DDoP Service profile will keep all the information and configuration databases related to the duplication service. Each directory will contain various related logs, but most important, these are the ones which I would like to mention. Starting with the Altaro Backup profile, in the subdirectory called Logs, the agent service log will keep all the information regarding configuration, backup jobs, notifications, etc. There is also an agent service item level restore, which will have all the logging related to granular file level restore and exchange item level restores. The agent service instant boot log will catalog all the details related to boot from backup operations. And most importantly, in the op controllers subdirectory, which refers to the controllers related to all the operations regarding backup, restores, offsite copies, seeding to disk, and retention and verification jobs, we will be finding individual logs divided per operation, where everything is timestamped for ease of troubleshooting. Moving over to the Altaro Offsite Server profile, there will be a subdirectory called Logs, which will also contain a subdirectory related to the operation controllers. This is the direct equivalent of the previously described operation controllers, but in relation to the offsite server itself. As regards the Altaro DDoP service profile, in the subdirectory logs, there will be a DDoP service log which will contain all the details related to the operations the duplication service is performing while allowing backups and restore operations to occur. Important to note that each and every log in Altaro will be timestamped, including the date and time of the exact file creation. This allows you to easily identify which log you need in order to troubleshoot particular occurrences. When an error report is generated and submitted, there will be a separate compressed folder for each and every machine that Altaro is managing. You will always have an agent.zip, which refers to the machine where Altaro is installed, and if you have other Hyper-V machines which Altaro is also managing through the use of the deployed host agent, they will have their own independent directory. In addition to the information found per node, the agent folder will also include extracts of the Altaro configuration. These includes the backup locations, host managed, retention policies, schedules, advanced settings, etc. While on all the nodes, there will be the logging related to the individual profiles which we described earlier, and also a troubleshooter folder. This directory will include the machine's application, system, and VMMS event logs, and will also run some other commands related to VSS or the system itself to be able to give all the information necessary in order to perform troubleshooting. Finally, we also capture the MS-info per node and some additional information, as can be seen on the image shown. In the chosen backup location, upon first operation, Altaro will create the Altaro v7 for the primary backup location or an Altaro v7s for the secondary backup location targets, and immediately in this directory you will be able to find the realm folder. The realm signifies all the information that will be deduplicated against each other. So in each and every realm in the backup location, you will have a data folder where the main payload will be residing. There will be a logs folder which keeps track of all the files and databases which are in use while performing operations, and you will also have the VMs folder. Now this does not keep backup data itself, but instead contains the metadata and databases required to be able to track all the blocks used in the individual backup operations, so that then you can use them to perform retention and also restore upon that backed up data. Here we can see a graphical representation of the raw data files, which keep the actual block payloads, the free space databases, which are supporting databases to the raw data files and indicate which blocks are in use in the retained backup versions and which other blocks are free to be used in future backup operations. We can also see that there is a subdirectory for each and every backed up VM, and in it you have several databases, but most importantly, there are the map files which point to all the blocks required to restore one specific version of the virtual machine, and also a backup data database which catalogs all the retained versions and operation timestamps. In this illustration, we can see more details, and it also catalogs the tracking databases, which essentially keep track of all the information and databases available inside the entire repository, the blacklist database, which keeps track of any corrupted blocks which the backup health monitor may find in order for subsequent backup operations to attempt to self-heal these corrupted blocks. And we also see the mention of the lifetime databases, which essentially cover all the blocks used throughout the lifespan of the virtual machine. In mentioning all these databases, it's important that we understand the extensions that Altaro is using inside the repository. The alt-rdf extension refers to the Altaro raw data files. The alt-db extension indicates that this is an Altaro database file, and the alt-c indicates that the file is compressed. The Altaro indexing database will have an alt-tr extension, and there will also be alt-j, which are JSON files. Shifting our attention towards the application, this service only runs on the machine where Altaro is installed. This machine we generally refer to as the agent. The service will be listening and accepting incoming connections on port 35114, where the sub-agents, which are the host agents which Altaro deploys to manage additional hypervisors, will be able to initiate communication over the use of this port. Ensuring that there is enough memory on the Altaro machine is important, so as to allow Altaro to be able to load the hash databases for each and every realm required, and in doing that Altaro will be able to allocate the amount of memory required for the duplication service to run, which will then allow the backups to proceed by identifying the common blocks from source and then only transferring whichever block is unique. Kindly remember that all the duplication processes are performed in line and not as post operations, and Altaro will also be using variable block sizes which allow us to identify more common patterns on the source data. So here we can see a diagram which will help us visualize what the duplication is doing. Blocks within the VM change sets are identified and any duplicate are removed. The blocks are also compared with the duplication service, so essentially any blocks which come from any single virtual machine will only be backed up once upon their common occurrence. And this leaves us with any unique blocks only appearing once on the backup location itself. Important to remember is the fact that all this processing is performed at block level, and all the blocks which are going to be transferred are also compressed using the QuickLZ compression to ensure efficient data storage. Before concluding this section, I'd like to remind you that whenever you're finding difficulty in troubleshooting any particular problem, it's important to refer to the relevant knowledge base articles. We have two distinct knowledge base libraries which relate to the Altaro backup and operations and also to the Altaro Cloud Management Console, and we also provide documentation related to APIs. Finally, there are the Altaro blogs, which take a more general approach and provide excellent educational material in relation to Hyper-V, VMware, and the MSP industry.